Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm back with another video that has 10 perfectly suitable unisex perfumes. So I did one for top 10 for men and top 10 for women. So this time it's the turn of those fragrances that are perfectly suitable for both men and women. Now that's how I describe an unisex fragrance. I think those perfumes that makes a man feel like a man and makes a woman feel like a woman is that perfectly suitable unisex fragrance. And today I've got 10 of these that kind of fit the bill perfectly. I've got 2 extra. These are honorable mentions because I feel that they are perfectly suitable as unisex fragrances, but at different levels, in different discussions, I have seen people differ on this subject, which is why I have not kept them in the main list. I have kind of given them that honorable mention place. So the first one that I have here with me is Tiziana Terenzi's Porpora. This is a bit of a polarizing fragrance if you ask me. This is an out and out rose fragrance, and since it's heavily on the floral note, it's heavily rose, heavily floral, so it depends on the personal taste of a man if they want to go with it. And usually women go for floral, fruity floral notes far more than men do, so I'm not very sure if they would like this. But then in my opinion, personal opinion, this is perfectly suited for both. But again, the personal choice of a man may differ, which is why I've kept it as an honorable mention. The second one that I have here is now, as far as unisex fragrances are concerned, you will see most of them are niche fragrances. The reason being that in case of designer fragrances, you always have that something for men and something for women in the same range. But when it comes to Tom Ford, there is no such thing. So this is there is no such thing, but only a few of them mention like for men, but most of them are unisex, both in the designer as well as in the Privé line. So this is Tom Ford's Black Orchid, and I feel this goes, oh my god, this is so good. This is a little bit sweet, which is why maybe there are some men who don't like it, but I think this goes perfectly with men and women. I would love to smell like this all the time, and I would love to see a man around me with the same fragrance. So which is why I feel these are 2 perfectly suitable unisex perfumes. But then there may be difference of opinion, which is why I've kept them out of the main list. So now we come to the main list, the top 10. So coming up at number 10 is one of my favorites. This is Nishane's Ani. Now this is an oriental floral fragrance, and it is described as one of the best vanilla fragrances from Nishane. I also find a considerable or a notable presence of patchouli and cardamom, especially cardamom, and patchouli, cardamom, vanilla, without taking away anything from the vanilla, of course. And patchouli, cardamom and vanilla, they present along with other notes, of course, they present a kind of a perfume that I feel goes not only with all occasions and all seasons, but it also goes well with a man as well as a woman. Consider this, like even if you're whether you're attending a close gathering or you're attending a boardroom meeting, this perfume it works beautifully on your clothes, beautifully, and it does not matter whether you're a man or a woman. It can go perfectly as your accessory, of course. And the notes are, top notes are bergamot, ginger, pink pepper and green notes. The middle notes comprise of blackcurrant, Turkish rose and cardamom. The base notes comprise of patchouli, vanilla, cedar, benzoin, ambergris, sandalwood and musk. Of course, I get a lot of cardamom. The next perfume that I have in my hand is again a favorite of mine, and I find this very, very delectable actually. So this is Montal's Intense Cafe. This is again an Oriental vanilla fragrance. This was launched in 2013, and just as the name suggests, this has an except the clanking of this, there is nothing about this fragrance that I don't like. I love the noticeable coffee, the rose and the vanilla presence. The coffee and the rose is actually an interesting combination, which you will quite clearly find when you take a sniff, and that's amazing. No man or woman has ever said no to coffee, can ever say no to coffee, or say no to rose, and a combination of these two I feel is quite lethal, and it's amazing. And on my skin there's another aspect that I have noticed. I'll just keep down the bottle because the clanking makes me mad. So another thing that I've noticed on my skin is that intense cafe tends to become more strong coffee, stronger version of like a black coffee, strong black coffee on my skin after a while. And I don't know if it happens with all of you, but yeah, right now just after 2-3 minutes it becomes like strong cup of black coffee on my skin, and I love that. So I think this goes both for men and women, and it's like a gourmand. It's like a delicious coffee rose kind of a fragrance which works amazingly. The next perfume that I have in my hand is amazing. It's a beautiful perfume. I feel this is like a soft, subtle kind of a perfume, and it's so balanced. It's the key of this perfume is its balance, beautiful balance, and that itself makes it perfectly suited for both men and women. So this is Serge Lutens Santal Majuscule. It's sandalwood, of course, but there's this heavy dose of rose again. I find a lot of my perfume selections have a strong noticeable rose presence today, but it was completely unintentional and coincidental. But I don't know why, but this is heavy on rose as well, along with the sandalwood. The strangest part is that it has only 3 notes. It has cacao, it has rose, and it has sandalwood, of course, as the name suggests. Now I feel like there's this incense kind of a vibe that I get. Yes, and there's this water run, or like this watery rose vibe. The rose is very watery and very light, diluted kind of a rose, and the sandalwood is so beautifully blended. It's a different take on sandalwood, which is amazing. The finest part of this fragrance is its longevity. It stays on forever. It gives you easily about 7 to 8 hours on my skin, and I think it gives the same on others as well, because I've tried this on other people in my family, and I have just to test it out, and I have got very good results. And it goes good. I mean, I'm not just putting this on the list here just because it's a Serge Lutens. No, I've tried this on some male members of my family as well, and it works beautifully. Trust me, it works beautifully. So Santal Majuscule is on number 8. The next fragrance that I have on number 7 is not on number 7 because it deserves to be at this point, but it is one of my favorite, and it has been showcased so many times that I wanted to finish with it earlier on. Coming up at number 7 is one of my favorites, all-time favorites, and I plan to get a full bottle very soon. I'm working on that right now. So this is my favorite decant, Feve Delicieuse, and there cannot be a more suitable man-woman fragrance than this. Period. End of discussion. This is a masterpiece. I just love this fragrance so much. I can't imagine anyone not feeling good. This is such a very uplifting fragrance in my opinion. This is again a vanilla, caramel, tonka bean dominated fragrance, but I get a lot of irisy, a lot of powderiness, and I have seen many people complain about a baby powder vibe from it. There are some of you who might not like the excessive powderiness of this perfume, but I just love that powderiness, and I feel it is that powderiness that kind of gives it that uplifting feel. You know, it's a very uplifting, very likable kind of a perfume. And most importantly, this has got a longevity that is record breaking. This has lasted almost 12 hours on my skin, and I have been able to sniff it. So I've always been very partial towards this in that way, because the longevity is really enormous, amazing. And you know, even on my skin, after a while, the dry down and everything, I keep getting the perfume, so that makes me very happy about it. So I'll give you the notes in detail. It has tonka bean, of course, and it has vanilla, caramel, cocoa praline, benzoin, sandalwood, cacao pod, bergamot, lavender, and mint. Speaking of mint, you get a minty vibe from it. Yes. There have been times when Feve Delicieuse have been compared with Tonka Imperiale, so I think we'll come back to that discussion a little later, and you will know why. The next fragrance that I have in my hand is, you know, everyone wants a few of these in their collection, and that is how it came to me. And I'm still a little overawed by this. You know, this is like a big thing for me to have this brand, to have this perfume in my hand. So this is my first from this house actually. This is Frederic Malle Iris Poudre. Now I love iris as a note, so which is why I went for this. And is usually described as a floral aldehyde kind of a fragrance, but I feel you know, often we describe iris as having a powderiness to it, so that may not be very comfortable for a man if you are talking about unisex fragrances, but then not with this. This is a very balanced kind of yeah, aldehyde. Yes, a little bit wee bit soapy, but I don't know if I should say this. This smells a little bit of the incense. It gives me a little bit of the incense vibe, not in a very intense way, very light, very light. And it's actually the soapiness of it all, but it balances out, and the dry down is superb. I just love the dry down. So if you want something like long lasting, something very bright, and you know, something very, again, a little powdery, little soapy, then Iris Poudre would be the perfect choice. And this is iris, of course, but there's a lot of floral notes into it, a lot of floral infusion into it. And funnily enough, I don't find the typically iris powderiness in this at all. It's a totally different take on iris, I must say. So for that, I'll give you the notes in detail. The top notes have bergamot, orange, rosewood, ylang ylang, and carnation. The middle notes comprise of magnolia, jasmine, lily, violet, rose aldehydes. Base notes comprise of, and this is the part where I'm a little surprised, because it has iris, musk, amber, vanilla, sandalwood, ebony tree, and vetiver. So usually all my favorite notes are there in the base: sandalwood, vanilla, amber, musk, iris, and vetiver. I just love, and of course ebony trees there. I'm not very I don't have anything on ebony tree, so I don't know, but when I sniff it, it's very likable, it's very long lasting on my skin. At the same time, the typical iris vibe is missing. The typical sandalwood, musk, amber, you know, that cozy warmth that is usually created in other fragrances is missing. But yes, I can safely say this will work beautifully on both men and women, and this has got a fairly good longevity, fairly good, at least about 6 to 7 hours on my skin, a little longer on my clothes as well. So on the 6th position, I think it's a perfect fit. At number 5, I have a favorite vanilla for many people, and I know for sure this is equally liked by both men and women. This is Lune Feline from the house of Atelier des Ors, and this comes at number 5. You know, I just love those golden flakes, and there have been times when I've sprayed it on my skin and I really looked out for the shyness, but I don't see that coming anywhere. It's a gourmand. This is a very luxurious vanilla actually. There is something, it's a super luxurious, seductive vanilla. And like somebody told me, and I completely agree, that this smells out and out like rasmalai. And all of you from India will know what is a rasmalai. And beautiful. And so there's this, I don't know why it breaks the beautiful, you know, the gourmand vanilla kind of thing. The gourmand vanilla breaks into this little bit of burnt smokiness, which I don't like, and then it again comes back. It kind of springs back to its original form after a few seconds, not even a few minutes. So that's what makes it so beautiful. And I think as a vanilla fragrance, this is a luxurious fragrance. If you like vanilla, both men and women, they can equally carry this off beautifully. It has a good longevity and a heavy sillage, in my opinion. It is good on the sillage part, and there's a little bit of spiciness along with the vanilla, a very little bit of woodiness. And let me give you the notes in detail. So it has cinnamon, cardamom and pink pepper at the top. It has green notes, cedar, woodsy notes, ambergris and styrax in the middle. And for base notes, it has the Haitian vanilla, Peru balsam and musk. Amazing gourmand. Any unisex fragrance list has to have one from the house of Tom Ford. And this is none other than Tobacco Vanille from the house of Tom Ford. I have spoken to very few people, both men and women. For some reason, this is like a naturally men's choice, so there's no question in that side. But I have not come across a single woman who have told me that they don't like this perfume on them. So I love it. It makes it a very natural choice for a unisex fragrance. So this is an oriental spicy fragrance that was launched in 2007, and the main accords of this fragrance is vanilla. You get spicy notes, you get of course you get the tobacco, but then there are some fruity vibes as well. So on and on, in overall you can say that this is one of the best examples of a unisex fragrance which is so beautifully blended, and which makes it a top choice for both men and women. The top notes of this fragrance is tobacco leaf, spicy notes. The middle notes comprise of tonka bean, tobacco blossom, vanilla and cacao. The base notes comprise of dried fruits and woody notes. So I have spent, honestly speaking, I've spent very little time with this. It was a difficult journey. It was a difficult task to get hold of this. So beautiful, amazing. Like most Tom Fords, as I said, I have had very little time with this perfume, so I will not say a lot about its sillage and its longevity, because I have had only 1 or 2 occasions where I could wear this, and under the present circumstances of the lockdown and the restricted movements, it's difficult to test out new fragrances in my collection. But from whatever I could gather, I have other Tom Ford perfumes. So longevity has been an issue with most of them actually, and they are superb perfumes, superb fragrances, but I love each one of them. But as you know, we don't like perfumes that don't last on our skins. So if I can't sniff the perfume after a few hours, I kind of lose interest in it. So I will not be choosing to wear it next time I'm going out for a longer duration, which is why Tobacco Vanille kind of stood out in the crowd, because this has amazing sillage and an amazing longevity compared to other Tom Ford. I'm not saying this is the best in my collection. There are others that last even longer, but you know, like 5 hours at a stretch, I could sniff the perfume without any reapplication, and that was a big deal, because Tom Ford fragrances are really lacking when it comes to longevity and that you know, that consistency of their performance, which is why Tobacco Vanille kind of stood out. There has been a recent acquisition of mine, another Tom Ford, which is even better, but I'll talk about that in another video. So coming up at number 3, I can't think of anyone who will disagree with me that this is one of the finest unisex fragrance that we have in the fragrance community today, and this is Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir. I love it. I just love this perfume. It's incredible. It makes me feel rich. It makes me feel luxurious. I don't know. It gives me all the you know, uplifting vibes that I need even on a bad day. So if there is a perfume that can uplift your mood on a bad day, this is it. And this goes for all the men and all the women equally. It works equally for both. So incidentally, funnily enough, actually, I find all the best fragrances, all the best perfumes in this world do not have that huge pyramid of notes, which is clear from this, because Grand Soir has only a few notes. It's labdanum, it's Spanish labdanum actually, siam, benzoin, vanilla, amber and tonka bean. Vanilla and tonka bean. You get of course you get the amber as well. You get a lot of amber. Again, this has been relatively new to my collection, so I've had very little time to spend with it. So, but then I can safely say this has got a good, everything is good about this perfume. Actually, everything is good, whether it's the sillage, the projection, or it's the longevity. So far, everything is amazing about this fragrance, and I feel there cannot be a more balanced fragrance for all occasions, for everybody, for both men and women, than Grand Soir. So we are down to the top 2. And like I said, I'm not grading them. They are all very special and all very, very worthy as unisex fragrances. But always in any countdown, you always have a number 1 and you have a number 2. So coming up at number 2 is Tonka Imperiale from the house of Guerlain. And there are many who have compared this with Feve Delicieuse, and there are many who have said that this is a little leaning towards masculine leaning fragrance, like little leaning towards men more than women. Somehow I disagree, because there are different times of the day and different moods to which you wear a perfume, and I feel this is suited for one such mood or one such time of the day, one such occasion for both men and women. When you're going to wear it is definitely up to you, because I can always say this is like a party scent, or this is like a work scent, workplace scent, or this is like a daytime or a nighttime perfume. But then I don't think we always categorize on that basis. We keep saying that. I mean, there are many who keep saying that, but then ultimately when we choose a fragrance, we choose it based on our moods and on our preferences for that particular day. And of course, a lot depends on how we are feeling at the moment. So, but yes, I feel both men and women can wear this and they can carry it off beautifully. because this is a beautiful perfume. And we have come to the end of the list, and we've come to the number 1. I have to say that I'm a little overwhelmed by this perfume, a little bowled over by this perfume at all times. And this is one of my prized possessions. This is Oud for Greatness by Initio. Initio is, fast becoming one of my favorite houses right now. And not that it's just by fluke, but they are so deserving in every credit that they get, every bit of the credit that they get, because I feel like each one of the perfumes that I have from the same house, from Initio, they are like competing with one another. Each one is so good in so many ways. So this is Oud for Greatness, a perfume that kind of changed my world, changed the way I felt about oud, and changed the way I started using oud after that. Yes, my first oud experience was Club de Nuit Intense for Women, but that was the reason I bought this. But this is the reason that I started loving oud as a fragrance note, because my first experience with oud was terrifying, and I kind of stayed away from oud for a long time. I did not even want to hear about it. So Oud for Greatness kind of changed all that. This, I feel, is the perfect man-woman fragrance. A little bit of the oud woodiness, a little bit of the smokiness, a little bit of the sweetness, everything is there. And I feel there's a little bit of that muskiness, musky patchouli, of course, but then that little bit of sharpness, of course. And this is such a contemporary, like modern kind of an oud fragrance, and I can't think of any man or any woman who will not like this. If you want to wear an oud fragrance, then you can try this out. It's highly likable and it's so festive in nature. Don't overspray, because then you will be kind of giving everyone a headache. And a little bit of it, a few sprays goes a long way. That's what I can tell you. Good on sillage, heavy on longevity, and very good projection as well. So that's my number 1 choice, Oud for Greatness. I hope you liked all of these choices for unisex fragrances, and you enjoyed watching my suggestions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you very soon in my next video. So till then, lots of love.